Welcome back to another Kray video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos. And for people really into the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London, where you will find stuff probably unavailable anywhere else. We're an established group with a large membership, and best of all, we're friendly. The link is in the YouTube description section.
It should have been a showbiz launch, only it had a touch of the macabre about it. A flypast that plugged the birthday of Ronnie, who died last year, and of Reggie, still living in 96. Ronnie died from a heart attack after serving 27 years in Broadmoor. Friends gathered at his grave, watched the plane circle not just once or twice, but dozens of times. I was in tears, absolutely delighted to find when I got there. But it was a beautiful flyover with marvellous Essex to run on. So that was good.
Well, I think it's amazing. I love that flyover. And I think that if one was here, we would love it as well. I think it's a really lovely surprise.
Reggie may be behind bars, but he's been busy organising this birthday tribute to his twin brother and making sure that nobody's allowed to forget Ronald Kray. When Ronnie was buried last year, Reggie made sure the world heard about that too. No expenses spared. A glass carriage for the coffin and 6 dark horses to bear his brother to rest. An old-fashioned burial for an old-fashioned gangster. But the pomp and the publicity of stunts like today leave many cold. Former police chief Henry Mooney helped to nail the Krays. He says their villainy shouldn't become the stuff of folklore.
They move on fear and terror, and there was a strong discipline. If anyone stepped out of line, he may well have his head slashed or shot or kneecapped. Obviously, it's an attempt to glamorize the memory of Ronnie Kray, but I don't think it was much effect.
And the reaction in Chingford.
Yes, members of the public, I don't think they're very impressed.
I really feel upset about it. In Chingford, this is Jilly Parsons for London Tonight. Years in prison was appearing as a character witness for the older brother of the notorious Kray twins. Kray denies offering to supply £39 million worth of cocaine and providing 2 kilos of the drug. Kray was told Woolwich Town Court that Kray couldn't say boo to a goose and was different from his brothers, who was too nice.
Behind a £39 million drug deal. The jury will resume their deliberations in the morning. Richard Speed reports.
Charlie Kray's friends and family outside Woolwich Crown Court. They're disappointed that the jury were unable to reach an early decision. The judge had told the 7 women and 4 men that he wanted a unanimous verdict, but after 4 hours they were sent home undecided. In a trial lasting 4 weeks, the prosecution has alleged that Ronnie and Reggie's elder brother, seen here at Ronnie's funeral last year, was filmed as he closed the deal to supply undercover drugstore officers with hundreds of kilos of cocaine. He denies offering to supply cocaine and a separate charge of supplying 2 kilograms of the drug. Richard Speed, Channel 1, Woolwich.
The funeral are returned their verdict. What happened?
Well, there was shock, surprise and tears from the public gallery. Charlie Kray supporters have clearly thought he'd get off on this second charge. Charlie Kray himself showed no emotion at all as he stood in the dock in a dark suit. The jury came back. They'd been asked by the judge to find a majority verdict of at least 10 to 1. There were 11 jurors. In the end, it was unanimous. He was guilty of being the mastermind behind this drug deal case, and also that he was involved in supplying 2 kilograms of cocaine.
Did the judge make any further comments, or is he keeping those when he returns a verdict on Monday?
Well, the judge will be sentencing Charlie Kray and his 2 accomplices on Monday morning. He did say that under these circumstances he has no option but to consider custody. So there is no doubt about it, Charlie Kray is going to prison.
What range of options does he have? How long did he send him away for?
Well, at the moment we don't know what the maximum sentence is for this particular charge. The lesser charge of which he was found guilty on yesterday would probably have carried something like 2 or 3 years. Now, he's been inside already for a year, so he might well have come out today if he'd been acquitted of this second, more serious charge. He hasn't been, and so he's looking at a good few years in prison.
Just briefly, finally, Richard, I mean, you say there was no instant reaction in the court. We have seen pictures of some of the friends and supporters, clearly quite upset outside the court. Have they made any comments or remarks?
Well, as I said, that they were shocked and surprised, and there were tears inside court from the public gallery. Charlie himself made no reaction at all. Outside, there was lots of grand statements about an appeal and about how it was a mistrial and the jury was misdirected. But at this stage, it looks as if this is, at the moment, just words. I spoke to the solicitor of Charlie Kray a few moments ago, and he said there will be an appeal, but that will take some time to organise.
And just to confirm, sentencing to take place on Monday. For the moment, Richard Street, thanks very much. The court, thanks for joining us, James. Just tell me, how did the older brother of the twins get involved in the first place, this crime?
Well, it suggests, of course, that he got involved because of his association with people outside. He'd walked in the reflected glory of his brothers for so long. And, of course, when he gets out, he does it all kinds of people.
How ambitious a crime was it for somebody of his age to get involved with, you say?
Well, it was very ambitious, and that's why a lot of people are shocked that he's got himself involved in the twilight years of his life. And, of course, a lot of people don't believe that he's still connected with it. But the jury on paper found him guilty of introducing the suppliers to the underworld cops, to the undercover cops, almost to the underworld. Without Charles, of course, they wouldn't have got the drugs. But the suggestion was that he was set up and framed by the cops to stay and supply what he did. His argument that it was a scam, that he was going to make money out of it, has been dismissed by the jury. And he played a pretty dangerous game, and he's suffering for it today.
Now, up until now, of course, his reputation is unblemished. Were you implying in that first half that he was trying to, as it were, bask in some reflected glory for his brothers, rather than it being just a financial measure?
Oh, yes, he was basking, and anyone will tell you that, the underworld or the police will tell you that. In the late years, he's become very, he hasn't had very much money, and he's helped various people. But I say, back to the drugs, it surprised a lot of people, because throughout the years, his name has not been connected with drugs. The brothers got it. And that came as a surprise. Now he finds himself purely involved, because he did supply them. And he didn't supply them. Let me correct myself there. He introduced the people who did supply them. And without those drugs, this case would have been here.
As a character, as a person, James, how different is he from the twins?
Oh, very much different. The twins lived malevolently on their reputations. They created an aura of fear in the East End of London during those early days. I covered the trials and the murders they were alleged to be involved in. In fact, more the word alleged, they've since admitted. And they were violent men. But we've never, even in those days, we've never anything about Charlie Kray in violence. Would Boxer use his fist, and he's frowned upon guns and on knives, and he couldn't control his brothers.
Frankie Fraser, of course, who was a character that was in his trial, said he was a coward. Is he a coward?
Oh, is he a what? Is that a coward? He suggested that Charlie was a coward. He wouldn't do it. I didn't know. He said that he wouldn't get involved with violence. A coward is a man, he's not a coward. But he disliked violence intensely, and Frankie Fraser knows that better than anyone else, because he was involved even more violently than the Krays. He was a very quiet man. He was in the background doing the protection racket, but there was never anything to link him with the vicious crimes alleged to have been committed. Particularly, they're ruled by violence, as you well know, but Charlie's never there.
Let me ask you this easy case. We don't want to preempt the sentence on Monday, but assuming he does go down, he's no sicker, he's 70 years old. How will he cope?
Well, he'll cope fairly well, I would think, but his brother Reggie believes that he'll die inside. It depends on the sentence. Had he gone down on the first, it would have been a small sentence. The second sentence, he could be facing a lot of years.
It doesn't suggest he's ill, but to him, it's the twilight years of his life. And he certainly will have to suffer there. And I hope he comes out alive, but we don't know the length of time.
Of being part of a drug smuggling. A jury at Woolwich Crown Court found that he did take part in a conspiracy to supply cocaine. This special report from our crime correspondent, Martin Brown.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna live with Charlie Kray last summer in his element, drinks in hand the life and soul of his own 70th birthday party. But some of the friends helping him celebrate weren't all they seemed. Brian said he was a wealthy businessman with a criminal past. In reality, he was an undercover policeman. So too was Jack. He chatted happily that night with Charlie and his partner Judy. 3 weeks later, the officers revealed themselves and Kray was arrested. He was accused of supplying them with cocaine. In court, much was said about Charlie Kray's character and the difference between him and his notorious younger twin brothers, Ronnie and Reggie. In 1969, the twins were jailed for gangland murder. Charlie got 10 years for helping to dispose of the body of one of their victims.
Ronnie was the malevolent. He was the man who had been adjudicated crazy in prison. Reggie, quiet man, very affirmative. Very, equally, he would be violent. Charlie was the guy who couldn't control the metaphors. Certainly he was involved in some of the firms, etc. But his name was never with violence.
The prosecution agreed Charlie Kray was an affable man, but there was another side to him, one prepared to deal in drugs. On secretly recorded tapes played to the jury, he was heard offering to supply cocaine regularly, a deal worth £39 million. Later, at a hotel in Essex, 2 of Kray's associates did provide undercover police with 2 kilos of the drugs. They and Kray were arrested. In the witness box, Kray insisted he despised drugs. He pretended he could supply cocaine to con money and drinks from the undercover police. His own barrister described Kray as a poor, pathetic has-been, unemployable because of his name, and certainly no drug baron. During the trial, the jury heard a number of character references for Charlie Kray. There were more than 24 defense witnesses from both sides of the criminal divide. Mad Frankie Fraser, once a gangland rival of the Krays, said Charlie Kray was not like his twin brothers and wouldn't steal a penny.
I'm gonna live until I die.
After his party, Charlie Kray let it be known he wanted to thank everybody who attended. Everybody, presumably that is, except the 2 guests he had by then discovered were undercover detectives. Martin Brunt, Sky News at Woolwich Crown Court.
Was today found guilty of masterminding a £39 million cocaine plot. The 70-year-old was caught red-handed when the officer supplied the drug to undercover police officers masquerading as dealers. Adrian Britton reports.
Charlie Kray, at his 70th birthday party last year, was unbeknown to him, had been infiltrated by 2 undercover police officers. Their faces flashed out here to conceal their identity. They posed as wealthy drug dealers. Kray offered to supply them with cocaine, but his defense claimed he was simply a skin-cold fool who loved big talk about big money. Yet he introduced the undercover officers to 2 associates, Robert Jules and Ronnie Field, who admitted handing over 2 kilos of cocaine, the first of a promised £39 million consignment. Charlie, the older brother of Kray twins Ronnie and Reggie, said he had no knowledge of the deal. But after a 5-week trial at the high-security Woolwich Crown Court, the jury, who had police protection powers, found him guilty. His friends left court claiming he'd been convicted because of his name.
The only thing we'd offer you is a scotch and a cigarette. And you wouldn't offer anybody anything.
His surname, synonymous with the gangland terror of the East London 60s, Charlie Kray was considered the non-violent of the brothers. Ronnie now dead, Reggie is due for release next year. But at 70, a long sentence for Charlie Kray will effectively mean a life sentence. Adrian Britton, ITN, at Woolwich Crown Court.
Friends and family of Charlie Kray were clearly distressed at the outcome of this 5-week trial. 27 character witnesses had failed to convince the jury that Charlie Kray was not a drug dealer. Yesterday, a unanimous verdict found him guilty of the lesser charge of offering to supply cocaine. Today, they convicted him of supplying 2 kilograms of the drug by another unanimous decision. The court had heard how the elder brother of Ronnie and Reggie seen here at Ronnie's funeral last year, bragged to undercover police paid him a fine. The two should supply 2 kilos of cocaine every fortnight for the next 2 years.
I'm absolutely appalled. I'm sick. Somebody should do something. No way is that justice. We all know it. Everybody who knows Charlie Kray knows this is the biggest stick-up this country's seen for years.
I just said that he smiled at us and first was fine and not me upset, but I just am frightened what it's going to do to his health. I know Charlie Kray longer than any lady that sat in that court. Now, I've known him 35 years. The only thing he'd offer you is a scotch and a cigarette. So never ever offered anybody any drugs. He says my son to stay away from drugs. You know, just that he knows.
Charlie Kray has already spent a year on remand in Belmarsh Prison. He'll be sentenced on Monday, but faces spending the rest of his life in prison. His lawyers say they'll appeal against the verdict. Richard Fleet, Channel 1, Week.
£39 million for Krays smuggling operation. Woolwich Crown Court heard how Kray, who's 71 next month, was trapped by undercover police after he'd been caught offering to supply the drug. He'll be sentenced on Monday.
I think it's his name, Kray. Yes, his name, Kray. If he'd been jailed, he'd probably got bail and it probably wouldn't have even been in court now.
Kray was approached by an undercover police officer who he thought was a drug dealer and offered to supply him with cocaine. At District Court in Essex, his 2 co-defendants started to deliver on the deal when they handed over 2 kilos of cocaine to undercover officers. Kray claimed he never intended any drugs to change hands and was simply trying to trick people into giving him money. Kray, seen here on the right as a pallbearer at the funeral of one of his notorious brothers, Ronnie, depicted himself in court as a poor relation of the family. He said he had to turn to Ronnie's twin Richard for money. The jailing of the Kray twins in 1969 marked the end of one of London's most vicious criminal partnerships. Nearly 30 years later, Recce is still in prison. Charlie Kray, seen here with his brothers, was convicted of being accessory to the murder of one of their victims. At the age of 70, Charlie Kray is now facing another spell in prison. He and his 2 partners in this crime will be sentenced on Monday. Sue Kelly, BBC News at Woolwich Crown Court. And I'm Anna Maria Ash. The headlines this evening. The party's over for Charlie Kray, who's found guilty of a multi-million-pound cocaine plot.
He'll be spending the rest of his life behind bars. Today, a jury found the Kray twins' big brother guilty of masterminding a plot to smuggle £39 million worth of cocaine into the country.
Young friends chose to prove his character witnesses for the 71-year-old claimed he was a coward, but is now exposed as a man who traded on his notorious name in a failed attempt to become a drug baron.
Released tonight pictures of Charlie Kray at his 70th birthday. But unknown to him, 2 of his guests are in reality undercover police. Named in court only as Jack and Brian, the 2 detectives were setting up a trap, posing as businessmen interested in buying cocaine, talking about a total deal valued at £39 million. Charlie Kray was hooked. The champagne lifestyle was just a show. Privately, the older brother of the Kray twins was broke. This deal would make an old man rich. The police quickly arranged for Charlie Kray to fly to this hotel in Newcastle, where he was secretly recorded, saying the deal's done, mate, as he shook hands with an undercover officer. This afternoon at Woolwich, many of those same friends who were at his birthday party were in court to see him convicted of selling cocaine. As the guilty verdict was announced, Charlie Kray showed no emotion, but in the public gallery, several women started to weep. There were also cries of no. In his defense, Charlie Kray claimed he was just playing along with the idea of a drug deal to try to live up to the Krays' notorious reputation. One friend was so confident he would be found not guilty, he arranged for a suitable car to pick him up. After a 5-week trial, the final result was devastating.
The only thing this man has done wrong is to call Kray. His name is Kray, therefore he is a villain. That is wrong. If your name was Kray, you too would be banged up. If it had been Joe Bloggs, he'd probably got bail and it probably wouldn't have even been in court now.
This is all political because his brother, they were anti-drugs, always anti-drugs.
But the scene that started at a birthday party ended with two men who were working with Kray selling cocaine to the police. And on Monday, they'll join him in the dock for sentencing. The judge has already said they'll all be going to prison. At Woolwich Town Court, this is Gareth Purdy for London Weekend Police.
The story of Kray twins couldn't be ignored, even though there were claims that his brother's reputation almost made him a victim, not a criminal.
It's possible Charlie Kray may never live to taste freedom again. Getting older than he's 71 years, he faces a heavy jail sentence for masterminding a £39 million drug cartel and may not survive it. This is a shabby footnote in the story of the Krays, another nail in the myth that they were folk heroes protecting their own. Charlie Kray used every trick in the book to hoodwink a jury into believing he was a pathetic, washed-up old has-been, but they were having none of it. Kray seen here with brother Reggie at Ronnie's funeral, the man who looked everything but had nothing, scrounging off his brother's reputation, telling tales of the past to make a few notes, when in fact he was flooding the streets with judge. Character witnesses from his past filed into court one at Woolwich, determined to be loyal to the Kray firm. Mad Frankie Fraser played it to the hilt.
Said I couldn't take him home with you. That was the answer. I suppose I did enjoy that bit at the end when I said it's the first time I've ever walked free from a court. That bit was wonderful.
And so the parade continued, with Charlie Kray's past appearing before him. Ex-Page 3 girl Maureen Flanagan was another cheerleader.
Charlie's always said I was his sister, but he never has. But totally different from the other two. I mean, you could always talk to Charlie, reason with Charlie, he's soft and kind, got great charisma, but, not the others do.
The court heard that Kray swam in different waters with his twin brothers Ronnie and Reggie. They were jailed for 30 years in 1966 for the murders of Jack the Hat McVitie and George Cornell. Brother Charlie was put away for 10 years as an accessory. Tony Lambrianou got life for the murder of McVitie and believes Charlie Kray has been part of the family brush ever since.
Charlie had 70 couldn't fall in time. Charles was skeleton. For the shift that they could review his band. I know that. And I've always thought Charlie, it's nice to be a nice guy. It's nice to get the same out.
Kray never escaped the success. Like his hairstyle, he was caught in a time warp, cultivating a public image that he was the victim of his brother's notorious reputation. The man comforted by Diana Dawes at his mother Violet's funeral. The best man at the wedding of brother Ronnie, held in the chapel of Broadmoor Hospital. But in the end, Kray burned his fingers to try and judge. I can get you tons of puff, he told a man called Jack. He turned out to be an undercover police officer. And so the Kray dynasty falls. Ronnie Kray is dead. Reggie is completing the final year of a 30-year jail sentence for murder. And Charlie Kray, convicted of drug supplying, is back at the old family address, detained at Her Majesty's pleasure. This is Christopher Peacock for London Weekend Tonight.
I'm absolutely appalled. I'm sick. Somebody should do something. No way is that justice. We all know it. Everybody who knows Charlie Kray knows this is the biggest stick-up this country's seen for years.
He doesn't deserve it. Again, it's a misplaced of justice and his name. It's just so sad.
Another was Britain's first Page 3 girl who'd known him for years.
He smiled at us when he saw us all crying and that knew upset, but I just am frightened what it's going to do to his health. I know Charlie Kray longer than any lady that's sat in that court now. I've known him 35 years. The only thing he'd have to use is stopping his cigarettes. So I've never ever offered anybody any drugs, and so my son to stay away from drugs, and every kid he knows.
Charlie Kray has already spent a year on remand in Belmarsh Prison. He'll be sentenced on Monday, with faces spending the rest of his life in prison. His lawyers say they'll appeal against the verdict. Cricket Please, Channel 1 will...
Involving large amounts of cocaine. The older brother of the former gangland twins, Reggie and Ronnie, planned to supply 5 kilograms of drugs every fortnight for 2 years. But the people he was supposedly dealing with turned out to be undercover police officers.
live until I die. I'm gonna laugh.
This was Charlie Kray last summer in his element, drink in hand, the life and soul of his own 70th birthday party. But some of the friends helping him celebrate weren't all they seemed. Ryan said he was a wealthy businessman with a criminal past. In reality, he was an undercover policeman. So too was Jack, who chatted happily that night with Charlie and his partner Judy. 3 weeks later, the officers revealed themselves and Kray was arrested. He was charged with offering to supply them cocaine and then supplying it. After a 5-week trial, he was found guilty on both charges. The prosecutor accepted that Kray was a charming, affable man, but he was also a drug trafficker. The jury heard secret tape recordings in which he offered to supply the undercover police with £39 million worth of cocaine. Later, at an Essex hotel, 2 of Kray's associates handed over 2 kilos of the drug. Today's barrister, Jonathan Goldberg, described Kray as a poor, pathetic old has-been. In the witness box, Kray himself insisted he despised drugs and had simply been stringing along the undercover officers, but the jury didn't believe him. At the verdict, there was shock and then some tears in the public gallery, but little reaction from Kray. He and his girlfriend blew one another kisses before he was taken back to prison. His girlfriend left court in tears. Other friends were left to consider the long jail sentence Kray is certain to get on Monday.
It will be a life sentence, and he's a wrong child of 70 years old. I'm not even thinking of a long sentence to get into the judge facing his age.
Charlie Kray, elder brother of the notorious gangster twins Ronnie and Reggie, had argued he'd been targeted and set up by the police because of his name. In 1969, when the twins were jailed for murder, Charlie got 10 years as an accessory. Now, a generation later, he's 70 and facing another long sentence. The car that would have taken him to celebrate his freedom left without him. For Charlie Kray, the days of champagne and smiles are finally over. Martin Dunn, Sky News at Woolwich Crown Court.
In 1974, Charlie Kray was freed from prison after serving 6 years for disposing of a body. His surname has long been synonymous with the gangland terror of the East London 60s. Now friends of that era believe he will never be released.
You'll kill him. Oh, please God, don't get me rolled up. It's really, when he got that one 30 years ago, it took him down to his ankle.
Yet ironically, Charlie's brother Reggie Kray is due for release next year. Adrian Britton, News at 10, Woolwich Crown Court.
£10 cocaine slot. As he was led away, he told the judge, "I swear on my son's grave, I've never handled drugs in my life." Reggie and Ronnie is today starting a 12-year sentence. He was found guilty last week of masterminding a multi-million-pound cocaine deal.
Friends of Charlie Kray had stood by him throughout the 5-week trial, and today before sentencing they heard his lawyer, Jonathan Goldberg, saying that he was just a victim of a mean and ruthless police operation which had tempted and trapped a vulnerable old man. In a moment of high drama, Charlie Kray asked permission to address the judge personally, saying, "All my life I have advised young people not to get involved in drugs. I swear on my son's grave that I have never handled drugs in my life." But the judge said that was just hypocrisy, and there was weeping in the public gallery as Charlie Kray was jailed for 12 years. He'd been secretly recorded at this hotel in Newcastle, offering to supply cocaine worth £39 million to an undercover officer. His friends are now planning an appeal.
I just think that we always see a target for your social student and job, and that will happen successfully.
Well, the gist of it is very quick. Well out of order, thanks to careers in London. Very, very disappointing.
Man, shut up. Simple as that. I've known him about 35 years. I'm probably one of his oldest friends. No way he's ever been involved in drugs in his life. His sentence is longer than the 10 years he received for helping the Kray twins dispose of a body in the 60s. And at nearly 71 years old, his friends admit there's a chance that Charlie Kray will now die in prison. In Woolwich, this is Gareth Kirby for London.
In jail for his part in the £39 million drug conspiracy. The judge at Woolwich Crown Court said he was in no doubt that the elder brother and 60 gangsters Ronnie and Reggie was the prime mover in a plan to supply 2 kilograms of cocaine a fortnight for 2 years. They could flee as discipline.
Once more there were tears for Charlie Kray. But it could have been worse. Some thought Charlie would go down for 25 years. From the dock, Charlie Kray had made a final plea for lenience. He said, "I've always advised people not to get involved in drugs. And that I swear on my son's grave that I've never handled drugs in my life."
I suppose I can say I'm pleased. With just 12, he must have listened to something that everybody said. And the last words he started crying, I think they may have entered his head as he went and had his coffee.
Once again, supporters of the Krays have rallied to defend Charlie and criticise the undercover police operation.
12 years is just 12 years too much. The man is gullible, he's naive, but he's not a criminal. Obviously, when you're under pressure, which he has been throughout the whole trial, just related to if he confirmed safe, or then again he could actually probably die in prison.
In the 70s, Charlie did 6 years for his part in the gangland murder of Dr. Hack at Vicky. His family and friends say he'll pull through this one.
I think he's a very strong-minded man. He'll do what he has to do to get through for 12 years.
He doesn't like prison, but he has already been on the phone to me telling me that he's going to get down the gym, he's going to get himself fit, he's got a very good positive attitude, and I think he'll come through it fine.
In the high security courtroom, his two accomplices, Ronald Fields and Robert Gould, were given 9 and 5-year sentences. The officer in charge of the undercover operation was pleased with Kray's sentence, but said he took no pleasure in seeing a 70-year-old man sent to prison. On passing sentence, Judge Powell said Krays oft-repeated protestations against drugs to cure hypocrisy, and that he had no doubt that Kray was the leading figure in this case. Richard Blue, Channel 1, Woolwich.
Helen Wright, Woolwich Crown Court. Helen, I'm understanding the far from normal ending to the trial.
That's right, John. What's been an unusual trial all along came to a dramatic end when Charlie Kray made a personal appeal to the judge just minutes before he was due to pass sentence. Standing in the dock in Court 1 here at Woolwich Crown Court, Kray once again maintained his innocence and said stories about drug dealing he told undercover police officers posing as buyers were untrue. He told the judge, "I swear on my son's grave I've never handled drugs." Having juries had got it wrong to me before, this jury got it wrong too.
And what did the judge have to say to that?
Well, the judge said the jury had got it right. As he put it, they'd seen through Kray's hollow cry that he was the innocent victim of police entrapment. And said the judge, the jury's guilty verdict showed Kray's claims that he'd never had anything to do with drugs were hypocrisy. Kray's lawyers are now looking at the possibility of appealing against both the sentence and the conviction.
Thank you, Helen.
Good evening, I'm Alison Stewart.
And I'm Anna Maria Ash. In London tonight, 12 years for drug dealing, is Charlie Kray planning an appeal.
Will be a sentence imposed on Charlie Kray today. The brother of the notorious Kray twins protected his innocence to the very end and made a bizarre personal plea to the judge.
But it fell on deaf ears. The judge told him the evidence of massive cocaine dealing was overwhelming. Tonight, friends of the Krays said an appeal would be launched. We'll have a report later in the programme.
Protected his innocence to the very end and made a bizarre personal plea to the judge.
Outside court, friends of Charlie Kray weeping. The man they adored in prison once again.
Well, the minute is very soft.
Man, shut up. Simple as that. I've known him about 35 years. I'm probably one of his oldest friends. No way he's ever been involved in drugs in his life.
He was a silly, gullible man. He was playing the wolf. The making was pretending to be what he thought everyone wanted to hear. The great, I am the great, oh yes, I, whatever you want me to be, I will be. That is funny. He entertained us at parties with the same sort of rubbish. But this went out, this got out of order. You see, the whole thing about the Kray name has come back to haunt him again. They took him because of the name. They wanted a big name to police in his case, and that's what they sacked him on.
2 years ago, he joined brother Reggie, who he let out of prison, to attend Ronnie Kray's funeral. Now the eldest Kray may be facing a similar fate, ending his days as well behind bars. This is Gareth Furby for London Tonight.
It was a hollow cry. Kray was caught following an undercover police operation.
Charlie Kray's barrister, Jonathan Goldberg QC, told the court that Kray had always been unfairly charged with the same brush as his brothers, the notorious Kray twins. Mr. Goldberg described 70-year-old Charlie Kray as a broken old man whose son Gary had recently died at the end of the Kray male line. Looking tired and drawn and speaking in a soft voice shaking with emotion, Charlie Kray told the judge, "All my life I've advised people, especially young people, never to get involved in drugs. I went along with these stories, but they were all untrue. It was only to get money. I swear on my son's grave," he said, "I have never handled drugs in my life." But the judge accused him of hypocrisy and told him that those who deal in Class A drugs can expect justice from the court, but little mercy. Charlie Kray's friends were horrified by the 12-year sentence. His lawyers are lodging an appeal.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly, moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.